So it is day 27 of Alan's keynotes study streak, and today we'll discuss three remedies which are very important. And the first remedy we'll discuss today is Cocculus. So many times in our clinics, we often see that there are patients who develop lot of cramps, and we are thinking whether we should give Magfos, we should give Nux vomica, we should give Colosin, we are giving Berberis. But if the cause is traced, we will be able to locate lack of sleep or improper uh, mental attitude resulting in stress, which causes these issues also. And one of the top remedies that we should also keep in mind is Cocculus. So let's discuss the first remedy today, which is Cocculus from Allen's keynotes. So those who are joining new to this study streak, I would like to tell you that in the last 27 days, not a break, not a single day break on any day. We have discussed a lot of remedies, some days 2 remedies, some days 3 remedies. And if you want to be a good homeopath, like a good homeopath means someone who is having sound knowledge of his tools of prescription, which is the remedies from Materia Medica, and the diagnosis point of view and the potency point of view. You need to be a student who reads and studies literature daily, and the only way to do that is by keeping yourself on the books, reading on the books every day, every few hours every day. So let's read Cocculus for women and children with light hair and eyes. Time passes too quickly. So we saw that there are some remedies which have time passes too slowly. There are some remedies which have time passes too quickly. Cocculus is one of them. Time passes too slowly. We have Argentum nitricum and Cannabis indica. Cocculus is a remedy which seems to be like a combination of Pulsatilla, Ignatia, Magfos. So let's see how it is. This combination is seen. It cannot bear contradiction. It is easily offended, and every trifle makes him angry. And he or she also speaks hastily, like the remedy anacardium. So you have this picture of someone who is very sensitive, who is a woman, and who is also reeling under a lot of stress, and they get angry on least things, small things. Then we have something which is mentioned very peculiarly in Allen's keynotes, and we should keep in mind. It is adapted to bookworms, unmarried and childless women, sensitive, rakes, onanists, and persons debilitated by sexual excesses. So one of the top remedies that we always give for sexual excesses or ailments from sexual excesses is Staphysagria, but Cocculus can also be taught. Also in women who don't get married or who are unmarried for a long time can be thought of giving Cocculus. Diseases which are peculiar to drunkards can be thought of, Cocculus can be thought of for them. Loss of appetite with metallic taste, another remedy mentioned is Merksol. Great lassitude of whole body, it requires exertion to stand firmly, feels too weak to talk loudly. So there is a kind of a weakness which you will see in many areas in Cocculus, and if you see, it is more of a neurovestibular affections, neuromuscular, or it can be vestibular. which is the origin of Cocculus and its issues. So we should kind of understand from the patient's symptoms what is the nature of problem, uh, whether it is tissues, whether it is nervous system, whether it is from the vestibular apparatus which is located in the ear, the sense of equilibrium. If you try to understand this from the symptomatology, you will have fair chances of prescribing Cocculus. Bad effects from loss of sleep, mental excitement, and night watching. Bad effects, if they even lose 1 hour of sleep, they will have issues. Bad effects of loss of sleep, which causes convulsions, and bad effects of anger and grief. So you see this element of uh, you know anger and grief, which is coming again and again in various areas of the remedy, and this is one of the remedies which is often ignored in such cases where uh, we should be giving it for anger issues, for grief, for someone who is more overburdened with stress and cannot find a good way to react. They are very snappish. Then there is headache in the nape and occiput. So all the remedies that have nape and occiput related issues, you will see that they will always have neuromuscular incoordinations or neuromuscular problems. For example, you go to gelsemium, you read about that. You read the other remedies which have occipital pain. Nux vomica is one of them. It also has more action on the nervous system and then the gastric system. So similarly, Cocculus also has headache in the nape and occiput, extending to the spine as if tightly bound by a cord, with nausea as if at sea at each menstrual period. So whenever the menstrual period is appearing, there will be nausea, aggravated by lying on the back of the head. Sick headache from carriage, boat or train riding. So Cocculus is one of the top remedies every homeopath has given in his practice for people who have motion sickness. But you need to understand what is the motion sickness which Cocculus will cover. Only then it will succeed. It will not succeed in all cases. So the areas where Cocculus will succeed as a motion sickness remedies are the ones that origin from the vestibules, the sense of equilibrium, and it has mostly to do with the position of the person sitting in the car. So if they are sitting in an opposite direction, which causes them nausea and motion sickness, or they constantly see things which are moving and it causes them giddy or dizzy, that should be the case where Cocculus is indicated. Otherwise, most of the cases you can and you should give petroleum, that will work more effectively. We have discussed many other remedies also for motion sickness in the last 27 days. So those who are attending this session can definitely uh, find out the other remedies and share the names in the community. This will be the today's one of the questions for the quiz. So we have a WhatsApp community. Those who wish to join and you know discuss their cases or talk about Allen's keynotes, how it is helping, and then we will be studying the future further books also. The group is open for that. There is a WhatsApp community. Drop us a message after you see this video. Below this video, you can drop a comment or you can drop us a direct message. So we'll send you the link of how you can join the community. Then you have in Cocculus with something that is known as vertigo as if intoxicated upon rising in bed or by motion of the carriage. Other remedy is Bryonium. Hollowness in the parts in the head and other parts like Ignatia. So I already told that you have traces of Ignatia, you have traces of pulsatilla, you have traces of Macphos. And this is one of the top remedies which we should think of in cases where there is more of you know feeling that some symptoms belong to Ignatia, some symptoms belong to the other two remedies. Hollowness or lack of feeling that there is something inside should surely point towards cocculus. A certain class of patients will define their sensation very easily. Maybe in those cases we can think of giving them cocculus. Nausea or vomiting from riding in carriage, boat or railroad car. Other remedies are also arnica and nux moscata, surprisingly. Or even looking at boat in motion, seasickness and car sickness. So I already told that people who watch these vehicles move by, they have a giddy feeling, their vestibular apparatus is disturbed, and then they will develop this motion sickness. Those cases will be cocculus. Sensation in abdomen as of cutting, rubbing on every movement as of sharp stones. So there is a kind of a sensation which is peculiar only to cocculus, the single remedy, which feel where the patient feels that there is a kind of a constant motion as of a sharp stone or something that is, you know, kind of moving and rubbing the corners of the abdomen. Those are the cases where you should give cocculus in GIT cases. Then you have something from the extremities, which is trembling of the arms, legs from excitement or exertion or pain. Women who suffer severely during menstruation and pregnancy, romantic girls with irregular menstruation. So those who have a lot of relationships, if you can find out in your case taking, or the girls who have irregular menses and have that attitude of kind of having multiple partners, or kind of going with one partner but in a very loyal way, you can find that out if that means correctly for what is mentioned, and you will be able to give cocculus. Also it can be given in cases where there are severe cramps. So we always think of giving cocculus, we always think of giving macfos, but cocculus is also one of the top remedies for crampy pains during menses. During the effort to menstruate, she is so weak she is scarcely able to stand from weakness of the lower limbs. Like the remedies alumina, carboanimalis, after each period there is hemorrhoids. So this is a concomitant symptom. Patients would tell you that there are inflammation or swelling in the rectal region due to hemorrhoids, or some swelling she can feel, and that increases after menses. Those are the cases that will require cocculus. Leukorrhea in place of menses. So instead of menses, leukorrhea happens, or between periods like iodum, xanthocylum, like the washings of meat, like serum, ichorus, bloody, and also during pregnancy. So having vomiting during pregnancy is very common, but something that is different, if there is leukorrhea, if there is diarrhea, you should mark those remedies and prescribe them. So in the last few days we also discussed remedies for diarrhea during pregnancy. You can find it out and drop us a message. Then we have something about fever, where it says, where Ellen says that there is more of when fever assumes a slow and sneaking nervous form with vertigo and disposition to anger. So all those cases which have this involvement of emotions with fever, involvement of emotions with the cramps, with the headache, with their menstrual history, those are the cases that will require cocculus. Although in fever I have never given this remedy, but we have it mentioned that it is a slow fever which goes on for many days. So glad to see Dr. Minakshi Gavli. She has joined us. She has been attending. She has attended my clinic as well long back, and has been attending many of my courses. So she is back to studying, and maybe I would say that it is like this that we can connect to our teachers and become a student, or stay in touch with our books and keep studying, so that we never lose touch of the subject anytime in our life. Then we have aggravation from eating, drinking, sleeping, smoking, talking, carriage riding. Motion of swing or ship causes issues. Rising up during pregnancy from a lying down position causes issues. In comparison, you can see there is a comparison of ignatia and nux vomica in chorea and paralytic symptoms, and in antimtart in sweat of affected parts. If you have a case of hernia, especially umbilical hernia, you should think of Cocculus. If nux vomica has failed to cure, or if you are thinking of nux vomica, try to give Cocculus in extremely high potency like 10 m or 50 m. That is going to help cure or relieve the symptom for a while, and then maybe it will help also in gradual, what do you say, retraction of the herniated bowels. So that brings us to the end of the remedy Cocculus. Let's go further and read the two remedies, which are nux compounds, nux moschata and nux vomica. And they are very similar to Cocculus in their presentation in clinic, and we need to differentiate it from various things that we will be discussing, various pointers. Nux moschata is adapted especially to women and children of a nervous and hysterical temperament. Now again this goes back to ignatia, similar to ignatia. And also nux moschata is suited to people with a dry skin and who rarely perspire. So in nux moschata, dryness starts from the mouth, it goes to the skin, it goes to the bowels, everywhere there is dryness. And if there is dryness throughout in various areas, you should strongly think of nux moschata. Complaints during pregnancy, also the remedy is nux moschata. Absence of mind, cannot think, great indifference to everything. So someone who is aloof, who does not want to talk to anyone in the world, who does not want to keep relations, you should think of nux moschata is the remedy. Nux moschata also has weakness of or loss of memory like the remedies anacardium, laccan, lipo. Vanishing of thoughts while reading, talking or writing, uses the wrong words, does not recognize well-known streets. Cannabis indica, lachesis are the other remedies. Changeable humor. At one moment they are laughing, at other moment they are crying. Like ignatia, also another remedy we always miss in our practice, which is Crocus sativus. Sudden change from grave to gay. So grave means someone who is very sad, and gay means someone who is very happy. So some patients who will drop in clinic, they'll act really weird. They will they will start with a laugh, and they'll get silent when they are expressing their disease. They'll go into silent mode and serious mode, and then again they'll start laughing. These are your observations which you will be able to pick up from the clinic, and it is not something that patient will tell you, but it is your observation. In fact, Dr. Purvi, who works with me, has prepared a very beautiful compilation of all the observations from Ellen's keynotes. What will be your observation? She read through all the different symptoms of each remedy. There are 180, 190 remedies, and we have made a beautiful document. And once we end this Ellen's keynote study streak, I'll be sharing of I'll be sharing ways on how you can access those pointers. There are various pointers which I have in mind for you to understand patient symptoms in your clinic when you see them and when you want to correlate from Allen's keynotes. So once we end this Allen's keynote study streak, all the remedies, I will be sharing it. You can stay tuned and stay glued to our YouTube channel and also Instagram page and Facebook page. So Dr. Parul, excellent sir explanation. Thank you very much. So I hope it is helping you, and If you are not able to attend the live sessions, you can always go back to the recordings. It will just take 30 to 40 minutes or 50 minutes per day, which is just, I would say, 4% of your day, 4 or 5%. But if you are able to devote 4% to your studies, there is nothing like it. No one can stop you in your practice. You will be able to be the master of materia medica in your clinic. So let's read further. In Nux Mostada, there is vanishing of thoughts while reading, talking, or writing, uses wrong words, does not recognize well known streets, cannabis indica, lachesis, changeable humor, and then we have weakness of old age, dyspepsia of old people. In fact, in dyspepsia, there is a very, it's a very general symptom which many old patients and young also would explain, and it is more of likely to be burning in the gastrointestinal tract. And if you, if that is the only symptom, okay, and if you are trying to search in the repertory, you will get lost because it is scattered in different areas. Okay, let me explain you how. It is scattered in stomach. If there are irritations, you will pick up irritations. If there is heartburn, you will pick up heartburn. There are some repertories which will give you the word acidity. There are some repertories which will give you uh, maybe what do you say, gastric secretions increase, something like that. So it is scattered in various places. There will be pain, there will be heartburn, there will be acidity. But if you are a good student of materia medica, if you are able to correlate from the symptoms of the patient and directly map it in the materia medica, you will omit the repertory directly. And the only way to do that is to be a regular student of materia medica. In Nux Mostada, it is mentioned dyspepsia of old people. You will also see that in argentum nitricum, you will also see that in sulfuric acid, you will also see that in sulfur. So these are the remedies you should think of in cases who have just a simple acidity or gastric acid disorder which is at the functional level and not at the pathological level. The problem with homeopaths who are good repertory users is that they try to locate everything in the repertory, and every time you will not be able to connect to repertory. You will need to use materia medica also. Even in fact, after using the repertory, you will need to go back and confirm to the same thing in materia medica. So why not master the materia medica first and then the repertory if need be to be referred to. Going further, we have Nux mosqueda, which has oversensitiveness to light, to hearing, to smell, and to touch. All the ailments are accompanied by drowsiness and sleepiness. So, it is commonly seen by many of the students in their studies to memorize dullness, dizziness, and drowsiness for Nux mosqueda. So, I need not elaborate. But the other remedies we should keep in mind are antimptot and opium. If there is gastric symptoms with the dullness, with the drowsiness, think of Nux mosqueda. If there are respiratory symptoms, think of antimptot. If there is constipation with the dullness, drowsiness, and there is a kind of a fever, think of opium. It can also be antimptot, which can be indicated in fever, but you will have to differentiate using other symptoms. So in Nux mosqueda, we also have inclination to faint even from slightest pain, like the remedy heparsulf. Complaints cause sleepiness. Anything that happens to him acutely or subacutely causes sleepiness to him immediately. Stupor and unsensibility, unconquerable sleep. Sensation of dryness without real thirst, without actual dryness of the tongue. Great soreness of all the parts on which he lies, like the remedies baptisia, pyrogen, and tendency to bed sores. There is a sleep which is irresistibly drowsy sleep, sleepy, muddled, as if intoxicated. Patient is comatose, lies silently, immovable, eyes constantly closed, This is the state of nux moschata. But this stage will come after a lot of passing through the other remedies and not just directly landing into nux moschata. So maybe you will have something which is in an earlier phase like nux vomica, or maybe something that is arsenic, and then he goes and gets drowsy because of the intoxicated state of the disease, and then he will land into this comatose state. It is then that you will need to prescribe nux moschata, and then in the reverse order you will need to prescribe the other remedies according to the state which is evolving. If the entire sleepy state is there with a stertorous breathing, so you can hear the breathing from a little bit of far distance, like 1 meter or 2 foot, 2 feet distance, think of remedy opium. There is lot of fatigue, as good as he needs to lie down, only then he will feel better. Rheumatic affections from getting feet wet, from exposure to drafts of air while they are heated, like the remedies aconite and bryonia. Aggravated in cold wet weather or cold wet clothes, like the remedy rustox. And if there is rheumatism, especially only of the left shoulder, you think of nux moschata. There needs to be dryness, which is indicative of nux moschata more often, because if it is mentioned in 2-3 places, it needs to be present in the patient, or the tongue needs to be dry. At least that can be the indication which should allow you to prescribe nux moschata. Another remedy for frozen shoulder of the left or the right side, we should think of ferrum met or nux moschata. Dryness of the eyes, too dry to close the lids. Great dryness of the mouth. Apis and lachesis have this kind of a dryness, and tongue is so dry that it adheres to the roof of the mouth. Now, there will be a class of patients who will tell you that there is dryness in my mouth, but the dryness is so bad that it kind of sticks my tongue to the roof of the mouth, and this will be expressed in by many patients. You may be able to prescribe nux moschata in those cases. Saliva seems like cotton, throat is dry, stiffened, and no thirst. The other remedy mentioned is pulsatilla, although it will not have this much degree of dryness, but it is like the beginning phase. So I told you that nux moschata state will come after passing through different areas, different remedies. Pulsatilla could be one of them. So in the early stages, the patient may seem like pulsatilla or arsenic or pulsatilla, and then he will land into nux moschata. Then we have for nux moschata something that aggravates him from the wind, which is sudden cough or sudden hoarseness. Other remedies being euphrasia and hepar sulph. Cough which is caused by getting warm in the bed, being overheated during pregnancy or bathing, standing in water, living in cold damp places like the remedy natrum sulph, and cough which is loose after eating or dry after drinking. So there is a contradictory modality if you see, and before I come to that modality, let me explain you what you can see practically for the cough. And if it is mentioned getting warm in bed, it means that as soon as the person goes to bed, within first 5 or 10 minutes as he gets to sleep, there will be a bout or two of cough. This is going to lead you to remedies which you should think of have aggravation from warmth of bed or aggravation as soon as lying, like the Drosera is one of the remedies, like Calcarea carb is one of the remedies. But the cough of Calcarea will be 1 hour after sleep. The cough of Drosera will be immediately. The cough of nux moschata will be after getting warm in bed, which means after 5 to 10 minutes of getting the sleep or sleep is ensuing, and that time the cough begins. And there is strong aggravation from damp weather. We have seen that in 2-3 places so far. So you should think of this remedy when there are complaints from damp weather. There is dryness. People take less water because it's already humid outside and they are not able to give out urine output in that quantity as they used to do in summers. that develops a state of nux mostata. The cough in nux mostata would be more like after eating it aggravates. They are able to expectorate it after eating, but after drinking it is more dry cough. So imagine the remedy is so powerful, or the state is so powerful that it absorbs all the water from the different areas and keeps it collected, that even after drinking the cough becomes dry and does not expectorate. So that is the way you should understand. Eating a little too much causes headache in nux moscata from Allen's keynotes, painfulness and distress in the stomach while eating or immediately after eating. Now there are symptoms mentioned, but when you will see patients coming to you, they will land up at your place with reports. Patient will land up to your place and show you OGD scopy, and he will tell you that there are ulcers in my stomach, or I did an OGD scopy and there are esophageal varices and I don't know what to do. You will take the case and you will see that there is a common symptom which is present in all the gastric ulcer cases, esophageal varices cases, which is after eating he has pain immediately in the stomach. Those are the cases you should think of Kali bichromicum, Nux mostata, Kali bichromicum in cases where there are lot of saliva is there, or if you examine the mouth, you will see the saliva is hanging in threads. Nux mostata will mostly have a very dry tongue, or the patient may even complain that there was dryness in my mouth all the while. Then you will be able to prescribe the medicines. In our source books, you will not see clinical conditions. So, being the sales director of Synergy Homeopathic Software, when I go to different seminars, people raise their hands or visit our stalls and they keep on telling me, can you search for this clinical condition? Can you search for that clinical condition? But I get tired to explain them that clinical conditions were not mentioned in our source books. You will need to understand from the symptoms mentioned, and one of the symptoms mentioned over here in Nux mostata was for kind of a gastric ulcer or gastric pathology which is having more pain immediately after eating. If the pain is an hour after eating, like pulsatilla, it would be duodenal or something related to the small intestine. But if it is the immediate pain, then that should point towards some gastric pathology. The pathologies are not mentioned in our source books, but the symptoms are. Focus on the symptoms, you lead to the right remedy. Focus on the pathology, you will get misled to prescribing something else and you will palliate the patient. Abdomen enormously distended after every meal. You will see this in Nux mostata. Diarrhea in summer from cold drinks, epidemic in autumn, and there are white stools like the remedy colchicum. From boiled milk, they will have diarrhea during dentition, during pregnancy with sleepiness, fainting in autumn, epidemic white fetid. This is all repetition, and the remedy again mentioned is colchicum. Then we have backache while riding in carriage, and then we have female reproductive system which is at menstrual nisus, mouth, throat and tongue become intolerably dry, especially when sleeping. So as I told you that it passes through various stages. You can have a stage of pulsatilla, you can have a stage of arsenic, you can have a stage of any other remedy which comes before Nux mostata. Nux mostata, you can say that it's a more of a deeper state where there is dryness which comes. This is the chronic pattern I am explaining. In acutes, you may see it very immediately, and with every complaint that you see in various areas, there is dryness mentioned, there is sleepiness mentioned. So, need more elaboration, but we'll proceed. Leukorrhea in place of menses. Patient is awakened with a dry tongue, like the remedy lachesis. Leukorrhea in place of menses. We saw this in Cocculus just a few minutes ago. And then we have physometra, which is flatus which passes through the vagina. The other remedies we have read is laccan and lycopodium. Pain, nausea, vomiting during pregnancy from wearing pessaries. So those patients that go for the pessaries to prevent the conception. They will need nux mosquita more often than ever. There are some class of medicines which you will need to keep in mind according to the weather changes. Like in India this time there is lot of damp weather. So you should keep nux mosquita in mind. You should keep all the damp weather remedies in mind. Other remedy being Dalkamara. You can keep in mind natrum sulph. You can keep in mind all those remedies which have damp weather aggravation. So cold, wet and windy weather is aggravation for nux mosquita like the remedy rhododendron. Weather changes from summer to wet weather can indicate nux mosquita. Cold food and water or cold washing can indicate nux mosquita. Carriage driving, again Cocculus and nux mosquita. And lying on painful side causes aggravation is nux mosquita. If it is lying on painless side aggravation, the remedy is pulsatilla. Amelioration in dry, warm weather, warm room, wrapping up warmly. And it antidotes, nux mosquita antidotes, many things that have been mentioned: mercury inhalation, lead colic, oil of turpentine, spirituous liquors, especially bad effects of bad beers, which is very much similar to Kali bichromicum. So you can see that there are differences for the remedy Kali bichromicum and nux mosquita mentioned throughout in this remedy. So in all cases where there is more of a gastric disturbance and you see that the pathology is starting to develop, go for nux mosquita. If it is dry tongue, go for Kali bichromicum. If it is wet tongue or excess of saliva, this will simplify your job. Going to the next remedy which we have, nux vomica, which is more or less the most frequently prescribed and most abused remedy, I would say. One of the best remedies, it is mentioned for commencing treatment in cases where the patient has been drugged by allopathic medication or quack remedies or hot medicines, but only if symptoms correspond. So throughout in our Allen's keynote study streak, we have been seeing that there are terms and conditions mentioned for remedies, and you need to observe whether these terms and conditions fit the bill. If not, then do not prescribe. Bad effects from coffee, tobacco, alcoholic stimulants, highly spiced or seasoned food, overeating causes bad effects, like the remedy Antim Antim Crude, long continued mental overexertion, sedentary habits, loss of sleep, like the remedies Cocculus, colchicum, nitric acid, aromatic or patent medicines cause issues. So, patients who come to you from other homeopaths, just ask them what is the list of medicines that homeopath gave them. If they are telling you that we just got two small bottles of pills or one bottle of pill, it is more or less likely that this was a classical homeopath. If they tell you that we got a string of a lot of boxes, then there is with certainty we can say that the practitioner was giving lot of patent medicines. In such cases, you need to start the treatment with nux vomica or a few doses of nux vomica to begin with, followed by the constitutional medicine. Causative factor sitting on cold stones is very important. You will see this very often in wet weather in winter season. Patients who go out for a walk in the evening, they sit on a particular stone or place, it's very cold. The next day they develop cold cough, fever, diarrhea, gastric issues, etc. etc. Think of nux vomica very strongly. I have given this beautifully based on this indication. Adapted to thin, irritable, careful, zealous persons with dark hair, bilious or sanguine temperament, disposed to be quarrelsome, spiteful, malicious, nervous, melancholic. So you have someone who is very zealous. Zealous means someone who is, in Kent repertory there is a rubric which is ardent. There is only one remedy in this, which is nux vomica. What does that mean? It means that someone who is passionate passionate about his field of work, passionate about something that he loves. If the person is in his field of work for many years, he may require Nux vomica if his mentality also matches Nux vomica, which is try to be more quarrelsome. He does not tolerate injustice. He is very snappish, and he also prefers a kind of a social life somewhere. So there is departures of a thin, irritable nervous disposition, prone to indigestion and hemorrhoids, which will require Nux vomica. If they have light hair and blue eyes, which is the case in Europe or US, we will see, not in India preferably, they will require lobelia inflata. So you see, next line what is mentioned is Nux is chiefly successful with persons of ardent character, of an irritable, impatient temperament disposed to anger, spite, or deception. Like this is mentioned by Hannibal. Anxiety with irritability, inclination to commit suicide, but is afraid to die. So there will be a mixture of symptoms in all the remedies that you see that have been mentioned in Allen's keynotes. The mixture of symptom is like there are various stages of symptoms. You will not see every Nux vomica patient trying to commit suicide, but it will come after something that he wanted to get fulfilled did not work. That is the time he will give up on life and he will suicide. So you need to understand this evolution. Only then you will be able to, you know, work around different cases and think if the person is in different stages of different remedies or different stages of the same remedy. Hypochondriac, literary studious persons who are too much at home, suffer from want of exercise with gastric abdominal complaints and costiveness. Costiveness means someone who is not able to clear his bowels every day, especially in drunkards. Oversensitive to external impressions, to noise, odors, light, music. We saw this in Nux mostrata, we saw this in Cocculus also, which we discussed today. Trifling ailments are unbearable, like the remedy chamomilla. Every harmless word offends with which we also saw in Ignatia. In fact, we also saw in Cocculus. Persons who are very particular, careful, but inclined to become easily or angered, irascible or tenacious. So least quarrel happening somewhere, and they are the first one to react. They are the first one to fight. Pains are tingling, sticking, hard, aching, worse from motion and contact. Tendency to faint. Nux mostrata, sulfur are the other remedies mentioned. Tendency to faint from odors in the morning, from eating after every labor pain. So someone who is, oversensitive. So let me explain you how beautifully you can understand in your clinics. If someone tells you that I am a very angry person and I am very if someone tells me anything, I just cannot tolerate it, and I say on the spot, take him from this area to the physical area and ask him, how is your tolerance to pain? How is your tolerance to small ailments that keep on happening? No, I can't tolerate. I just cannot tolerate the least amount of pain, the least amount of disease. That is oversensitiveness on the mental and the physical level. That will require Nux vomica or Nux group of remedies, Nux mostrata also. Cannot keep from falling asleep in the evening while sitting or reading before bedtime, awakes at 3 or 4 am, falls into a dreamy sleep or at daybreak, from which he is hard to arouse, and then he feels tired and weak. Repugnance to cold or cold air, very chilly on least movement from being uncovered, must be covered in every stage of fever, chill, heat or sweat. In Qatar, especially snuffles of infants, think of Nux vomica. Parallelly, also keep in mind Dulcamara is one of the top remedies and the only remedies mentioned in boric repertory. We should also not forget ammonium carb and sambucus in these snuffles of children. coryza which is dry at night and fluent by day, aggravated in the warm room, better in cold open air, from sitting in cold places and on stone steps. I already discussed about this few minutes ago. So maybe if you are someone who is joining late, you can go back to this part where I started Naxomica, and you will see how beautifully I also experienced in my clinic. Then we have something from the gastrointestinal system, which is irritation, sour, bitter, nausea, and vomiting every morning with depression of spirits after eating, nausea which is constant after eating in the morning from smoking, and feels that if I could vomit, I would feel so much better. So there is a constant nausea which is there. It is similar to ipecac. In ipecac, there will be excess of salivation. In nux vomica, there won't be so much salivation, but there will be more of constipation, lot of flatulence, and maybe you will have someone who is also of a sanguine temperament. We can say that he is, if we can elicit from the patients in their acutes or subacutes about how their nature is in short, and we will see that they are very much angry on these things. Pressure in the stomach from eating after 1 or 2 hours as from stone. If it is immediately after, I already spoke about Calibicromicum nux moschata. If it is after an hour or two, you should think of nux vomica, you should think of pulsatilla also. The gastric system is so much overloaded and badly affected that he is affected at the level of mind. He cannot think. After a meal, he becomes very sleepy, and there is also aggravation from anxiety, worry, brandy, coffee, drugs, night watching, high living, etc. Then you have constipation, which is frequent unsuccessful desire, passing small quantities of feces, sensation as if not finished. I'll come to this very soon about this, how you will see this in clinic. Frequent desire for stool, anxious, ineffectual, better for a time after stools, also better in the morning after rising, after mental exertion. So there will be these class of patients who will tell you that there is an ineffectual desire. I need to go 2 to 3 times in a single row in the morning to clear my bowels. Those are the cases you should think of nux vomica. So there is ineffectual urging, which they feel better for a time, and then again they get the desire to stool. We can confirm this from the patient and prescribe. Alternate constipation and diarrhea, like the remedies sulfur and veratrum, in persons who have taken isabgol and all these remedies which are freely available laxatives in the market, they should be given nux vomica. Strangulated hernia, especially umbilical, should be thought of, nux vomica should be thought of, but you can also think of nux vomica in inguinal hernias. I would prefer giving high potencies. Maybe you can start with 1 m and 10 m and go further. In the nervous system, we see that there are convulsions with consciousness, like the remedy strychninum, aggravated after anger, emotion, touch, moving. There is backache, which the patient feels that he needs to sit up to turn in the bed. There is lumbago from sexual weakness, from masturbation. Menses are too early, too profuse, last long, and if they remain for a long time, they are very irregular and stop and start again. And there is aggravation of all the old symptoms with the menses. Labor pains are very spasmodic, violent, and they cause the gastric system also to be disturbed. They will have frequent or ineffectual urge to stool or pass the urine. In fevers, there is written that there is great heat, whole body is burning hot, like the remedy aconite, face is red and hot, yet the patient cannot move or uncover without being chilly. So chilliness is the top thing that is mentioned, but there are a lot of other things in nux vomica which you will see from the fever point of view. If you wish to know about it, you can join my fever workshop which begins in the next month. Nux vomica has aggravation in the morning from waking at 4 a.m., mental exertion, after eating, overeating, touch, noise, anger, spices, narcotics, dry weather, and cold air. And amelioration we see in evening while at rest, lying down, and in damp, wet weather. They feel better in damp, wet weather, which is also what we see in causticum. Nux vomica is complementary to sulfur in all diseases, so you will see many homeopaths are giving sulfur in the morning and nux vomica at night. This is fairly good, no problem with that. If the condition demands for the prescription of two remedies at a time, you are free to do so. Inimical to zincum met, and nux vomica follows well after arsenic, ipecac, phosphorus, sepia, sulfur. And if you have given nux vomica and there is no relief, you should think of Barinia pulsatilla against sulfur. Nux vomica should be given before the bedtime. It acts best when the patient goes to sleep. If you give sulfur to the patient before sleep, it will cause itching, irritation, it will keep him awake the whole night. So sulfur should be given preferably in the morning and nux vomica in the evening. If you have a patient who has itching and he needs sulfur, give him at bedtime. He will thank you and you will thank me by this prescription. So that brings us to the end of today's session, day 27 of Allen's keynote study streak. And again tomorrow evening at 5:15 we will connect and continue with the Allen's keynote study streak. Hopefully, I'm sure this is helping all of you to understand the remedies and their clinical presentations, and we'll take this further by finishing the entire Allen's keynotes, and then something awaits all of you. So that's all from me right now, and thank you all for joining.